pumped to have you here.
Right on.
When I created this concept, Ron, I put down 10 people who I found have made an impact on my life, and I bet you before, I don't know, the week before I asked you, you might not have known that I had an impact. You had an impact on my life, but sometimes it's in small ways with people, and sometimes it's in big ways, right? It's always different.
Yeah.
But where I just thought you'd be so valuable to this program is we work in mental health and addictions and with people, and you do talks often, and you do groups, and you do speeches, and you're in comedy now. So you have a wide scope, and we'll get into all these things, into your comedic lifestyle that you've kind of transitioning towards now, which I think is so cool after winning Thunder Bay Comic Idol back in 2015, which was
actually that was in 2010. 2015, I won the Champ of Champions. I'm actually the king of comedy in Thunder Bay.
Yeah, what's the difference? Because I believe I was up in 2015.
2015 was all the Comic Idol winners.
Yes.
Going against each other.
Oh, that was like the grand.
That was like the grand finale, and now they don't do it anymore. So it's kind of like I took the crown
and went with it.
Yeah.
Why don't they? Do you know why they don't do it?
I'm not quite sure why it came to an end, but some other people picked up the ball and started running some different ones. I know there's a Comedian of the North now, and there's been some different shows being put on. Mm-hmm. So I think the folks at the Kinsman, they kind of just brought it to a close, and it had a long run. It went from, I think, 2006 up until 2000, and I'm going to say 15 or 16.
15 was the last year.
Yeah, 15. Yeah, okay, so they did the champ. I got the Champ of Champions, and then that was it.
That is
it was a good way to close it down.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which, I will say, was an event I didn't even want to participate in.
How come?
Well, for the simple fact that I was probably the only person that was kind of like doing comedy as a career. Mm-hmm. Everybody else kind of does it part-time, and they do shows here and there during Christmas, but I'm the only one that was like full-time. And I thought, if this is supposed to be my career, I had a lot of pressure on me. I was thinking to myself, I got to come out, and I think that's that stuff that's ingrained in your head. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like I felt pressure that I have to win this. Otherwise, why would I even be doing this for a career or a living if I can't even win this? And that was the thing that played inside of me. And then it was kind of like, no, well, these types of competitions, they're subjective. It's based on the individuals that are grading it. Mm-hmm. And I don't have control of that, right? Mm-hmm. You can have some of the coolest material, but if someone gets offended at the table or feels they didn't like your style, you're done. And that's that. But I had a lot of panic about it initially, and then I thought, well, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And then when I won, I was like, thank goodness, and because I loved everybody that was there. Like a lot of the people that were in the competition were my friends. Okay, these are longtime people that I hung out with, and it's really hard to do that in the first place. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to go against them in a way.
It's a weird concept. I've heard musicians trash that kind of format. Like Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters said he hated these, whatever they're called, celebrity idol shows, American Idol and all that. Because he's like, an art form shouldn't be, subjectively shot down by certain people. That's right. Like exactly what you said. Can you imagine losing that and then your whole life could have went in a different direction?
Would have said, why am I even in this? If I can't even win a competition that this is my career, and everybody else isn't doing it, and then I was like, no, I got to get that out of my head because this is a subjective thing, and I actually was hoping I had a job to go to, and then I would have just not been there. Mm-hmm. I was thinking, well, if I get a job, I'm going to go to a paying gig as opposed to going to a competition. But it turned out I ended up winning it, mm-hmm. and but it didn't make me feel any higher or better than or greater than anybody, because I thought everyone else did really, really well. Mm-hmm. And I know their material, and I love some of the stuff that they do, and I don't know, I don't like to watch them on TV. I don't watch those types of shows, so I don't watch America's Got Talent. I don't really enjoy those types of things. It's just not for me. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It was just something that I kind of got invited to, and in a sense coerced a little bit. It's kind of like, you got to do this. Mm-hmm. You're part of this, and it'd be nice if you showed up. And I was kind of like, oh, please find find a paying gig so I can get out. And I didn't, so I was like, all right, I have to do this now. So, but it's done. I use it now to use. I mean, I use it. That's what it is. I use that title for advertising. And
well, that's what I imagine. It's helpful, right?
Yeah, well, it is, but in a sense, it's fake because it's subjective.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on what 3 people thought that night. Doesn't matter what anybody else thought. The crowd, of course, maybe can encourage people.
I want to challenge that. I want to challenge that if you don't mind, because like I was preluding to before, I've in the mental health and addictions. That's where I knew you prior to seeing you on that stage.
Yeah.
And I went, if Ron's going up there, I've seen him captivate 10 to 15 to 25 of the hardest to serve teenagers on the planet, kids with drug addictions, mental health problems, not so much against them in the world, and you captivate them. So I said, if Ron's going up there, he's going to captivate this audience, and you did, and you could feel it. So subjectivity, yes, but I think judges feel an energy of a room, and they feel the reciprocation.
Yeah, I definitely had some crowd support there too.
Yes.
I definitely got some backup, so that was nice. Yeah.
Well, I still remember, and it's 2000, almost 2020, so 5 years ago, and I still remember a lot of the highlights of your bit, talking about your kids and the gangster rap scene and the old school phones and texting and the difference between that. The fact that I can still, after all these years, and
remember the gig,
remember the gig, that says something. So what, using that as a platform, did that become your full-time career after this? After the
it was already kind of going that direction, and then I just stayed on path. Like I stayed on the path with it, and I'm still going with it today. Every once in a while I bail out, and I pick up little side things here and there, because I don't want it to turn into work. That's really important to me. I don't want anything that I do to just turn into work. Mm-hmm. And I was always raised to believe that work is not fun. Work is work. That's why it's called work. You're not supposed to enjoy going to work. And I was like, but I want to enjoy doing what I do. Mm-hmm. So I always looked at comedy. It's never been work for me. It's been my passion.
Perfect.
So that makes me want to go and do it. And when it starts to feel like work, I start taking time off. Like I stay away from it. Like I did 16 shows one time in a row for a month and a bit. And I was like, it's time to stop, because I'm not feeling good about going to the next one. I was kind of like, I need to stop for a while and maybe do something else. So then I did what was called Purpose. So I went back and did some things in community wellness building, team building types of things, education and awareness types of workshops, and then that kind of guided me. To keep me in a place of wellness, to remind me of my roots. This is what your purpose is. This is what you did, and you still do. But now you have your passion, and you can go to that anytime.
Yeah, that's something I really want to elaborate on. And from what I've seen from your talks before, sometimes you take one issue and then boom, that's like such a lesson in itself, and it doesn't have to be complicated. But you said you want to talk about the difference between purpose and passion. Yeah. So explain that to me a little bit. What you think about that?
Well, to me, passion, I kind of separate them, and maybe they can be together. I think purpose and passion can be together, but for me, purpose is what are you going to do that's measurable, maybe in ways of helping or healing or bettering or strengthening. It's, to me, purpose is what are you going to do with your time between your dash from when you're born till you leave till you leave Earth. What are you going to do with your time? And that has meaning.
I love that. There's a book that I love, The Monk Who Stole His Ferrari. I started to cut you out. I'll let you get back to that thought. But it's the whole book. The premise is, who will cry when I die? Yeah. So that it's like not in a morbid way that you picture it, but when it's your funeral, who's going to say, "Hey, that Ron guy, man, he really did something to me," or "He really changed the way I believed," or they'll show up.
Well, one thing, if you pay enough money, you can always make sure they'll say you were a great guy. I know that if you make the right donation to the right individual, and they will tell everyone how great you were. It doesn't matter what you've done. They'll bring up the good stuff. And,
but like you said, though, there's real and there's So that's cool. I like the way you put that. It's like the start line to the finish line. It's what the impact you almost.
And that's my purpose. And purpose is about maybe that's how I raise my children. Purpose is about how I'm going to help my neighbor. Purpose is about interactions with relationships. What I'm going to do in my community to make it a better place or a safer place, or whatever it is. What are you going to share? What are you going to participate in? That, like I said, that's going to be for the better of the whole, or for at least your family, or for someone or something. You know, maybe it's going to be for nature. Maybe you're gonna be involved in something to protect something, or you know, passion is just, to me, things that I like. You know, passion to me is things that I want to do.
Yes.
It's not necessarily my purpose. It's just I want to do that.
Yeah. Throw logs on the fire. It keeps the fire
that's
going.
a passion. It's not a purpose, right?
Yes.
But it's, man, I really enjoy it. Is fishing a purpose? Maybe if I'm going to take that fish and feed other people. But if I'm just going out there to fulfill an emptiness within me, and I'm just feeling happy doing it, and I'm feeling joy or excitement by it, that's passion. And to me, comedy, for the most part, is passion. Now, people are trying to tell me it's your purpose, and I'm like, no, I just like doing it. I enjoy doing it, and it's fun. And I still don't see it as being purpose to me. I'm just having a good time with it. It falls in line with my music. Like, it's not my purpose. My purpose isn't to share my music with the world and get a message across, or I just play music because I like playing it. That's it. Case closed. You know. So fishing is not a purpose. That's a passion. Motorcycle riding is a passion. You know.
So you sing in the groups?
Yes.
And
yes.
And you have a Ramones cover group?
I have a Ramones cover group. They're called Psychotherapy.
Do you ever play Havana Affair? I love that song.
Oh, actually, we haven't done that one yet.
No?
It was on a list of potential songs that we were going to do, but yeah, it's a band that the members have shifted a few times. A good friend of mine actually granted my wish to fulfill it, to fulfill my passion by helping gather a bunch of guys together to do it, and I've kind of inherited it now, and the members have switched a couple of times. I think we're on our fourth drummer now, and but we just keep picking up people that fill a spot, and we fulfill the night of excitement, and then if they're there for the next show, then they join us. If not, we move on, and we get some new members, but it's just for the fun of it. Like, I'm not out there going, we're gonna keep the Ramones alive, and we're all about the music, and it's going to make a difference. And we're just having fun. Case closed. That's it. We're not going to get rich off it. There's no purpose. There's no deeper meaning behind it other than we're just having a good time. Case closed. That's it. So that's kind of how music and comedy has been for me.
I love that you're sharing that, because to be dead honest, I know a lot of people who I try to advocate this message to them, not just the youth I work with or people I work with, just people in my life in general that just don't have passions. What would you say what would be your advice to someone who's looking for a passion or doesn't have passion in their life?
Well, when I find people that don't have passion in their life, if they're not fulfilled with purpose, they usually have some voids and empty spaces in their life, and they start to fill it with negativity, or they start to participate in things that maybe aren't in their best interests, or just maybe detrimental to their well-being, and that's what I always see. If people are missing things in their life, they have voids, it catches up with them really quick, unless they have so much purpose and they're so purposeful that they're just busy with that, delivering purpose. But most human beings have spaces within their life of time that they gotta kind of fill that with something, right? And that's what I call feeding your spirit. And when you don't feed your spirit, or get involved in things that promote passion or things that you love doing, you have this emptiness or this void within you, and eventually you start to fill that with something that's maybe not the best. It's not in your best interest. So what I always talk to people who are struggling, and I find people with addictions, that's one of the biggest things that they're missing. They're actually missing purpose and passion. They're missing both, but the biggest part they're missing is they're missing purpose. If they lack purpose, they really struggle. And one of the things that can help them find purpose is getting involved and finding some passions again. Something that's worth living, something that's exciting to do, something that's fun, that can take away from having to think about stuff all the time or things that are on their mind that's weighing them down. Then if you can get involved in stuff and find passions, it can assist you in, just being where you're at the moment.
It's cathartic. Huh?
Yeah, it's very healing. It's very passion stuff is very healing, and I think it's important. And but I do differentiate the two. As I said, I don't believe they're the same.
Well, I love that you've almost like simplified it, because I was so inspired by the talk you gave on a Monday night group that I went to that you were at. It was kind of the same concept, but you said belonging, acceptance, identity, and self-esteem. Whereas the 4 that you said, if someone's lacking in those, you may, when I went home and wrote them down again, correct me if I'm wrong, some of those might have been a little switched, different words. I don't know if you said,
I usually start off with belonging and connection. The second one is like self-esteem or self-worth.
That's or passion,
just
something
being.
Makes you feel confident, right?
And then your third thing is your identity, and your 4th thing is your purpose.
Yes.
And if you find individuals who are struggling, usually if you find people that are hospitalized, jailed, long-term, repetitively, people that are struggling with addictions, they're generally, for the most part, I'm not going to say 100%, because someone will probably call in and complain to you, or anyone that watches and go, that's not true. But from what I've been studying with my involvement and interactions with people, most people who are missing those 4 things are really struggling in life, and tend to be going through relationship problems, addictions problems, criminal problems, mental illness, emotional illness, physical illness. So I find when those 4 things are key to wellness, and I actually call them the 4 roots to wellness.
Do you mind repeating them again? Because I wrote them down, and I twisted them. I not twisted them, but I think had the general purpose.
Yeah, the biggest piece is that it's people don't need to know it word for word. It's about getting the ideas.
Gotcha.
If you can get the general idea of, I need that.
It's a foundation.
It's a foundation to follow, but it's really about what you pick up when you're listening. I need that. And if you can attach a word to it, because we don't always take in things the way someone teaches or tells us. We take a form of it from what we hear, and we build off that, right? And that's what's important. But the 4 that I always talk about, the first one, of course, is belonging and connection, and that's just feeling that out there in this world somewhere somebody cares. Some to somebody you matter, you fit in, you belong, you're part of, you're accepted. That's that acceptance word you were using, and that you have positive connections to things or people. It can be family, friends, partner, team, but it can also be nature, elements, pets. So it can be something from it can be a bird, it could be a fish, a dog, a bear. It could be the rain, it could be a river, it could be the sunshine. It can be a song. It can be something that ties you to this world that says, it's okay. I fit in here. I belong. I'm part of something.
I like that so much because it almost ties into the philosophy of the 12-step, but it makes it a little bit more relatable to people, I think, because everyone says, the 12-step, and maybe take it out of the 12-step, just psychologists will say you need a belief in something other than yourself. And that's almost that connection, but without putting the big G word on it.
That's right. Yeah, it's that thing is you have to believe that there's this higher power. But there are, like, when I think about a higher power, there are so much things that are higher than me. I don't have to believe that there's a supreme being in the universe somewhere that's a higher power. One of the things I know is a universe is definitely higher than me. The sun is higher than me. The rain is higher than me. The river. An ant has more power than me. Like if you put him I could say I could step on him, but if you equal what he can lift and what he can do, this little guy he outmasters me in everything. He's built to survive, and he's powerful. And so when I think of higher power, there's so many things out there that are higher than me. And I see it every day. Trees that create air. I use air. I don't give anything back to this world. All I do is take. There are so many things in this world that just give.
Yes.
They give. Whether they're food, we eat them or whatever. We're just takers. Human beings are takers. And I just see the whole world is a higher power to me. My children, my partner. When I decided to live better, everybody in the system and these programs and everyone kept telling me how I needed to do this for me. Well, I really don't care about me. I didn't matter. I couldn't reach it at that level. But when I look around, everything else matters to me. The river matters to me. The ground matters to me. Animals matter to me. The weather, the nature, like the elements, the rain, everything matters to me. The people on the street, when I see people hurting, that matters to me. And that's the approach I had to use to get well. Is it's bigger than just me. Because if I'm going to do it for just me, I don't think I would have made it. Because and that's because that self-esteem was lacking.
Yes.
But it didn't matter to me.
Love that.
But when I realized there's a bigger picture here, so I decided I'm going to get better, not just for me. I'm going to get better for everything around me. Because if I'm better, then maybe I'm going to put off a different energy that's going to be better for everything around me.
Which it will be.
Which it does eventually, yeah. Because when you're not well, people don't really want to be around it. It's kind of like people are dodging you and everything else, and you're unpredictable, or you
create chaos in life.
No one wants to be around that, right? But when you start putting out good energy, good vibes, and you're doing good things, things start connecting naturally on a massive level. So I believe in that. So I've struggled with a lot of things that the system puts out there. You have to do this for this, or you have to do it this way, or you have to believe in this. And I'm kind of like, no, I'm kind of seeing it a lot differently now. And one of the things I did want to share with you, because we talked about those, what I call the 4 roots to wellness, about belonging, self-esteem, identity, and purpose. I was at a workshop with the folks from Lac Seul First Nation. And we were at Winnipeg on a big staff sort of team retreat and doing some team building, and I shared this. And I watched one gentleman. He was just documenting everything I was saying. He was writing it down. A lot of times people attend workshops and they're dazed off. Some of them are playing on the phone, and everybody's doing different things. I watched someone very attentively taking in what I was sharing, and the next morning showed up to me and said, I want to ask you something. And I said, well, what's that? And the gentleman's name is Clifford Bull. He was the chief of Lac Seul First Nation at that time. He said, you said these are the 4 roots to wellness. He said, belonging, self-esteem, identity, and purpose. If those are the roots, what's the seed? So I was like, I don't know. I honestly never really backed up to the seed. I've always started with the 4 roots. And he says, well, roots come off of a seed. And he says, and he had all these papers and notes, more than those 4 things I said. He had written a whole bunch of material down. And he says, what's the seed? And I said, what do you think it is? And Clifford said, God. And I went, wow. And then another part of me kind of went, well, I don't know. And I struggled with it, but one part was like, aha, yeah. And then the other part was like, no, there's another side of me that was kind of fighting it a bit. I was like, wait a minute. So when he said God, something kind of opened up inside of me, and I said, what about love? And he looked at me and said, yeah. He says, I got my love from God, and I got these 4 things in my life, and I'm doing well, Ron. And I said to him, well, I just got love back in my life. A love for other things, a love for other people, a love for the world around me. And to some degree, I love myself again. So between the self-love, the love of others, and love of other things, and it being reciprocated back to me, I feel that I have received these 4 things too. And that just, it was a big moment inside of me, and I felt my spirit heat up inside. I was like, that's what it is. And then when I think about it, when we look at people with addictions, people who are unwell mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, what's the thing that we have in common when we're hurting? We're lacking love. And to me, that's what it's all about now. The seed to all of this is love, and most of the unwellness that you see today is because of the lack of love. Racism, it's that indifference and that hatred instead of love thy neighbor, right? It's the opposite. People are practicing the opposites, and they're wondering why they're dark. They're wondering why they think negative. They wonder why they're drinking and doing drugs. They're wondering why they're sitting around feeling empty and lonely and lost. And it's because of that lack of love, either not receiving it or not able to share it. It's dead inside. And when I sit with a room of people with addictions, if I throw out in the room, what are you missing right now in your life? Some people can't always put a word on it. And some people can. They might say, I've lost my self-respect, I've lost my dignity, I've lost my integrity, I've lost my children, and then if I throw out to everybody, how many people here feel love right now? And not too many people can put their hands up. And that's where they're stuck. They're lost, and they're feeling unloved. They feel empty. And to me, that is, now that I understand that, has been a really big turnaround point for me. And understanding how to even work with people. And I was really struggling with the system because they don't run from that concept.
That's such an amazing point, because I totally agree with everything you're saying, and I try to relate this to the youth I work with. Like, a lot of them are in gangs, who come to treatment, especially from out of town or from First Nations communities or wherever they're from. And it's like, well, I try to tell them, with your message, I love it, because it's still passing. I'm trying to pass along to these kids. I say, you're getting that identity from that gang because you don't have family who loves you. So naturally, I don't blame you for seeking it in someone. It's like from the movie Good Will Hunting. That's why he hangs out with the losers and the chums, because they'll take a bat to anyone's head for him, at any time of the day. So that's where these kids do that too.
Well, a gang, whether it's for young people or for even older people, a bike gang fulfills, or a street gang fulfills those 4 things.
Yes.
It gives you a sense of belonging. It builds your self-esteem, because all of a sudden you're somebody. You have, and it gives you an identity. You have a role. You're given a title. You belong to something, and from that you have purpose. If it fulfills those 4 things, is it a good thing? People would say, of course not. This is illegal. They're from a gang. They're a criminal element. But it's fulfilling emptiness. And to me, as negative as it could be, or as criminal as it is, or it's still giving somebody something instead of feeling nothing. So it's about, what can you do to give someone that?
To change that perspective.
Change the perspective.
That's where I'm not struggling with, but that's what I'm always trying to intuit and innovate in the field that we both work in, is like, and it's weird because the system in itself, we've talked about it at small lengths, but is not necessarily designed to teach kids how to love themselves. It's there to give them coping skills and to teach them, lots of things that are great, but it's such a weird, it's almost like a Jedi principle that you're trying to infiltrate into a kid's life, but that in a system, it's
difficult.
It's difficult.
Because really what they need, children need attention. They need compassion. But what's attention and compassion? It's love. That's what these children, that's what children need. That's what adults need. That's what babies need. That's what our elders need. Our old. I visited old folks' homes, and they're sitting there empty. And what are they missing? Belonging, their self-worth, their identity, and their purpose. A lot of them, it's gone.
Have you ever heard of how many people, like, I don't know the exact statistic, but I know it's factually pretty true. Well, I don't have the statistics, so it's kind of weird saying that, but people after they retire, a lot of people have heart attacks, years after, like the year after they retire, because their whole life has been thrown off, because they lose all those
no
core
purpose
values, no purpose, no belonging, no acceptance.
That's right.
All their core values go to nothing. Divorce rates too are really high. I think the highest divorce rate's like 55, because that's when people end their careers, and then all of a sudden they have no connection to their partner anymore. They don't have the identity of the breadwinner, or whatever their identity may have been, the stay at home or whatnot. So
that to me is the most important thing right now. And I was finding that I couldn't deliver that in some of the systems I was involved in. I couldn't give to people or share with people, or whatever, however you want to say it. I couldn't get that to people in an effective way because I'm following programs, or I'm following models, and these aren't, or following steps, or following this isn't a machine. This is a human being, and they need to know that they matter, and they need to receive love. They need to receive kindness. They need to receive respect. They need to be trusted, and so they need sort of some core values actually shared and practiced with them, and they actually have meaning, I think that's where I've made big differences in people's lives and in my own, because when I could start to practice that, I started to get a handle of it, and when I got a handle of it, I started to be able to pass it to other people. And in all the years I've been doing things, the individuals that I was able to spend quality time with and able to share love with, and that's the ones that I think are doing well now. The ones that are now
impact.
Yeah, the ones that they've been impacted in that positive way. But people that came in for 3 or 4 sessions, I don't know. Maybe they got a what they call a seed.
Yes.
I planted a seed, or I got but I don't just see the seed. I actually can take people to individuals and say, look at this beautiful individual. Look what they've done. Because it's bigger, because when you're able to spend quality time with people, and they receive that love from you, and then they're able to reciprocate it back to you, there's nothing stronger than that, and I think that's what really makes the difference.
Well, backboning off that, after I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you yesterday as well, and it's so, I don't know what the word is, daunting, is how much just in regular, we're talking about marginalized people we work with generally right now, but how much in the regular person's life just that attention is gone. That attention to people, kids not getting attention anymore. It's society has changed. It's and you mentioned before, we're consumers. That's what we do. We're like that little caterpillar. All we do is take and eat, and it's like the balance has gone so lopsided these days. With we're consuming, and not getting anything that's filling the spirit or soul back up. That attention stuff, like it's and that's exactly why I love to be. That's what people have asked me, and it's hard to correlate and tell them, why did you start a podcast? I said, because there was a huge gap in my life. I had the passion up the yin yang. I had the purpose through my job. But it's all giving and fun. But I need that connection again. I need that intimacy of conversation. Looking someone in the eye. Like, how many conversations have you had that have been 5 minutes in length, and someone pulls out their phone mid-sentence? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So
and we talked about that last night. I think me and you probably talked longer than some people that have intimate relations for a number of years. They probably don't even share as long as we did yesterday on the phone. Like I was with a friend of mine the other day, and I talked on the phone with him for an hour, and I said, I think I probably talked longer than you, than I've talked to my wife in the last couple of years, and we had a good chuckle, and that's not true, to some degree.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like, I haven't spent quality conversation with people. I see a lot of stuff on the internet. We're on social media, but we're still not really communicating anything. And
get sick. Watch what happens when you get sick.
Oh.
No one's coming.
No.
You know, you got 400 Facebook friends.
Well, you're going to get a lot of thoughts and prayers.
Yes.
That's one thing I noticed, that, there's a lot of thoughts and prayers, a lot of thumbs up, a couple of emojis with some tears, and a couple of with the mouth wide open. Oh. Mm-hmm. But no, it's really empty.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's but those two words you said before. It's so imperative. I think attention and compassion. Yeah. I think one precedes the other. And I think attention comes first. Then that can, because how do you give someone compassion if you haven't even given attention? Attention first. So it's. I think there's going to be a little bit of a revolution turning around. I think people are really starting to feel it. People are getting a little fed up.
People are socially unwell. I think everyone's off in their little corners, and they're not feeling good. And when you really do sit down and talk with some people, they come right out of their shell.
Yes.
If you give people just a little bit of time, then they want to share stuff with you. It's like, yes. I have a family, and they'll start going, and it's kind of like, oh boy, I've opened the gate on this,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think that's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, when you open the gate, you better be ready to stick around and not just give them the superficial "how you doing," gotta go by. Mm-hmm. We have to spend a little bit of time and learn to speak to one another. I think a lot of people don't even know how to talk to each other now. People talk abrupt and very curt and short, as people don't share with feeling anymore. It's just like they just babble 2 or 3 word things and then walk away. It's kind of like, well, I told you what I wanted, or this is, they don't really elaborate on anything because everything's done in short.
Well, the phone,
the phone is
back to the phone is how I think a lot of times people do take minor risks where they start sharing about something and then they see you look down at that phone, or that you see the other, say you're sharing with me, and then you see me look down at my phone. What does the person do? They stop.
Yeah.
They say, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, you're not invested. You're not invested.
Why would I be more vulnerable to you? But that's something I've been really practicing lately, and it's been mind blowing. Some of the experiences I had in conversation, I'm just opening up about my vulnerabilities to people. I'm someone who struggles heavily with anxiety. I'm a adapted extrovert. I grew up in a family of 8, so I learned how to be communicative and social, but that ain't me. Mm-hmm. I like to be intimate and personal, and I've been sharing with people about how anxious I really am, and wow, these people have just been, I have OCD and I do this and this daily, and this person, I'm on maybe this medication, or I'm this, it's...
Yeah, and everybody's just keeping it all suppressed and locked in a box. Yeah, we can't talk about it, or... Yeah, it's, I think it's like, I think you're right though. I think things are going to change soon. People are going to start to say... enough's enough of this. I'm gonna and you're starting to see it. I'm actually saying, I see people now, that's it, I'm going off Facebook, and they disappear. Like, I have a couple of friends even, and it's like, I don't have time for this anymore. I got to go out and start living. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was growing up, the television arrived. Television showed up just as I was being brought into this world, that people were buying into the whole idea of, I got to get a television, and this is where the family will congregate. And we put a lot of time into TV, and then VHS and Beta showed up, or actually Beta and VHS, and then we got into that, and it was like, oh, we can watch movies at home, and then of course video games, the arrival of video games, but now what has arrived, I don't know. And I thought to myself, when the internet arrived and all the things that I can tap into, I don't, if anyone ever listens to this, I don't say, but it's kind of like, you have the power of God with this phone. You're so knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. Like, if you were to take this phone and go back to the 1940s and then just punch the phone and tell them things, you would boggle people's minds what you could answer. It's like a superpower.
Yes.
And we're not using that superpower to the best of our abilities. And I think somewhere along the way we're going to have to figure out, I think it's time to put this down. Mm-hmm. And use it for essential things, and then, because we're not going to get very smart if we keep doing the way, going the way we're going.
It's reverting. I've seen loose
it's working against us.
I've seen loose studies that have said that people's IQs are actually getting lower than they were. I don't know how they correlated the study. I read an article that said people in the 1900s were actually much more intelligent than we are, and people say, well, how is that? And you say, well, look at someone who worked on a farm. back in the 1900s, what they needed to know agriculture. They needed to know insects, they needed to know disease, they needed to know how to fix a tractor, they need to know, problem solving. Think of how many skills someone had in the 1900s versus now. Problem solving skills in an 18-year-old aren't the
not
greatest.
The same,
They're not the same anymore.
No.
So,
but in the kids' defense and the young people's defense, now they're also getting bombarded with a number of things that I don't think that people in the early 1900s had to face. And we're hearing about constant unwellness, crisis, death, problems, and it's instant. As soon as it happens, we're receiving it, and I think we're getting bombarded with trauma.
Yes.
Like we're getting trauma overload, because so now we're not only carrying our own individual trauma, family trauma, community trauma, regional trauma, we're dealing with world trauma and stuff that doesn't even pertain to us.
I got an example of that, and I might take flack over this, but all gloves are off at this point because I'm my intention as well. But I work in the education system, and it really bothers me, the lockdown procedure. I don't know. I know there's protocols. I know there's safety. I know our children are an important asset. But to see kids be put through a simulated experience where there's an attacker essentially coming through school, banging on all the doors, and they need to huddle in small little groups under tables in one area, and they're going through that simulation. I don't know what the impact of that is on them, but I don't like it. I see their faces. I see fear in their faces. Not so much the older ones, but
the older ones laugh it off.
The older one, it's kind of they've been adapted to that, but the younger ones, that's imprinting on them. And I don't know. It's sometimes we implement these strategies because yes, something needs to be done, and I'm not knocking the school system for taking action. However, what's the effect that this is going to have on kids, that young, thinking, hey, we have to practice for when the school shooter comes in, and we need to hide chickens all cooped up under the hen, So I don't know. It just, like you said, back to what we were saying, the trauma, it's so much on people now.
I think sometimes when people are trying to do something good, they don't realize the potential damage they could be doing as well. And does the damage actually outweigh what we're trying to do? To keep people safe or well or protected or whatever what it is we're trying to do. When I was growing up, the big thing that was sort of being talked about was the potential return of nuclear warfare. That was, the Russia and America were kind of locking horns again. This was before the Great Wall came down. And there was a lot of talk that this could go any time. Maybe the Chinese would be involved, and they would get us all wound up about this.
They had sirens around the city, did they not?
The Vietnamese war ended, and then all of a sudden, nuclear war now. We have to start thinking this is a potential there. And they kept going on and on. How there's so many bombs and missiles that it could wipe out the Earth 10 times over. It only would take 1% of their total arsenal to wipe out the world. I was like, what the heck is going on here? And when you see some of the people that are in office, you're kind of thinking, this is who's in charge of this stuff. Like today would be 10 times scarier now, because at least back then we had some individuals that I thought at least could make a good decision. Nowadays I'm not so sure. But it was a fear that we had, is that there was this power that could wipe out the world, and all it would take is these two factions, these two warring nations, to go toe to toe, and that would be it for the entire world. And it was a scary time for me. And my dad used to just say, you got to have faith that somebody's got enough brains not to do something like that, that there's enough common sense, and that was the thing that everybody talked about when I was young, is use your common sense on this. And I never did get that defined, what that was. I'm still trying to figure out what common sense is.
I think it's trust your gut.
Yeah, because it definitely isn't common anymore. It's not there. Common sense is lacking for the most part, and not with our children. Like people might say our children lack common sense, but I'm seeing a lot of grown adults now. They're kind of missing it. We're missing common sense on a massive scale, and of course the kids are going to learn that. So and this is what we're going to be facing, because the children are learning from these people ahead of us, and from my generation, of course, and And that's kind of scary, you know. I'm kind of nervous about that.
Well, it's almost, I think we were talking, it almost seems designed. Like, if you look at the United States, for example, because I, to be honest, don't know much about Canada's politics and all that, and I'm not getting into politics why I'm bringing this up, but you look at the country, and it's a country divided in half.
Yes.
50-50, almost on the dot. And I don't think that's an accident. It's back to what we were saying. If you're lacking as a human being, you're very easily manipulated, right? Like we talked about kids who fall into those gangs because they're missing, you know, their health and wellness.
Pick a side, and then you'll belong.
Health and wellness doesn't make money. It really doesn't. You know what I mean? It's not profitable on a massive scale.
Nope.
And consumerism really is the dominant force in this world, and it's we're seeing a lot of that. But
sickness and unwellness and imbalance, that's where the money's at.
Yes. And
that's what the system makes money off of.
Yes.
And that's what's made me disheartened about the whole healing process. Whether it's, and I want to say for the free world, for the most part, for North America. And there's been a lot of things that have been pushed, a lot of fear-based things that have been pushed on us. And there's never any true healing. It's always maintenance at best. There's no healing happening. And I know people try to use the internet to find, where can I find the healing? Where can I actually go to get better, as opposed to just maintaining these illnesses that I have. But the system, which is broken, is actually running great. The program is designed to have the imbalance that it has to keep everything moving, right? And that was one of the other reasons why I kind of wanted out. Because I got sucked into a lot of these things too. A lot of people promoted different practices or beliefs or these new ideas, and this is the best. And I always heard, this is the lesser of two evils. This is, we can't do anything about that. Our hands are tied. And I always hear these sayings. I'm like, no, your hands are tied. Get someone beside you to untie them. Ask for a little bit of assistance and get your hands untied. And if something is the lesser of two evils, evil's evil. Case closed. So rather than finding the lesser of two evils, why don't we find out what combats evil, or what's gonna change so that evil isn't running the show anymore. And sort of that's where I'm at right now. And when I do say some things in relation to mental health or addictions, and I start to challenge some of the current processes that are out there, whether they're the old school models or the sort of the new flair that's on the scene, the new talk, the new buzzwords and all that, and it just boggles my mind, and I'm kind of thinking, why can't you see it simpler? Like, I'll give you an example.
Sure.
One of the buzzwords that I make jokes about quite often nowadays is land-based programming. You'll hear land-based programming. We're gonna heal communities, and we're gonna heal people that are struggling with land-based programming. When I was growing up, it was called going outside. Going outside is not a program. It's just an act of doing. Take people outside, get them connected with what's around them, and start healing.
What would an example of, apologize to cut you off there, example of land-based programming? Like, what would be one program that they would say for a youth or an adult to do that's a land-based
So we're going to do land-based program. We're going to take some people that are addicted. We're going to take them away from the community and take them out on the bush and maybe put them in tents or cabins, and we're going to take canoes, and we're going to go out on the land and fish. And basically what you're doing is you're going outside and you're participating in activities or everyday life tasks, whether you're catching your food or whatever you're doing, and you're starting to forget about your problems. That's land-based programming is going out, learning skills, but also leaving your struggles and your heaviness behind, and going out and filling them empty voids with something positive from outside. And that's why I said I called it going outside, but now people are sending all these proposals in as land-based programming, and I remember one time I had to try to talk people into why I thought fishing was a good idea for kids. I struggled with that for years. I couldn't. Could we buy some fishing rods? And well, I don't know, Ron. There's all these rules. We got all these rules. We can't go on a boat unless we have someone with a Broads medallion. And there was umpteen different things to kill what we're trying to accomplish. You know,
it's infuriating to me. We live in Northern Ontario, and we are surrounded by probably the top 10 swimming locations in all of Ontario. There's waterfalls, there's shores, and how many times I've been told no.
Yeah, we can't do that.
You don't have somebody with a lifeguard certificate. And lifeguard, and I do it anyways. I'm going to go put myself on a limb and say do it, but I would be either if someone was hurt or whatever, because those things do happen in swimming. We all lived in Thunder Bay our whole lives, and you hit your head on a rock every now and then or whatever. But I'd be liable. I'd be sued. I'd lose my job probably. Which is it's sad in a way, but
I did it for years. I'll tell you, I'm not gonna lie to you. People told me I couldn't do this and that. We did it all. I didn't stop. I said, that to me was the common sense factor. We're going to practice common sense out there. I'm going to have a few helpers to keep a close eye on everything. If someone really goes sideways on us and is not listening, we're going to pull that person out of that situation and they're not going to participate. But for the most part, I wanted to create opportunities that young people or adults, whatever, that they would have something positive. They would have a positive experience. They would have something positive that they would remember and they go, I want to do that again. That meant so much to me. But, I've worked with, I don't know how many individuals, and I run into them now. They're in their 30s and 40s, some of them, and they walk up to me and they don't say, man, I remember going to your office and we did those sessions together. They don't bring that up. They say to me, I remember the time you took us to Lac de Mille Lacs and you showed me how to clean fish, and we ate that fish in that frying pan and we sat around together and we laughed and I felt like I had a dad. That's the stuff that I remember. That's the stuff that means something. I remember when you took me to that hockey practice and I was so scared and I wasn't going to make it, and you were sitting in the stands cheering for me. That's the stuff. The time we took the canoes and it got really rough and we had to paddle and stay on that island, and I was so scared, and you said everything's going to be okay, and we made a fire and we got warm and dry, and then we carried on and we got back, and I felt I accomplished something. Those are the stories that I love. And that's what I mean. Nowadays, like, people are just starting to talk about, hey, let's do land-based programming, and it's nothing new, because before I went into social work, there were all these programs that a lot of the individuals now, I think, that did those programs would be in their 60s and 70s. The workers at that time, they did all that stuff with kids, and it worked. And somewhere along the way, it got tanked. And then we got people sitting in offices doing these sessions. But it's not showing kids how to live. It's not challenging them in any way. It's not giving them a little bit of risk, to say I achieved something, accomplished something. And that's what we need. And it's coming back. So I am happy that it's making a full circle. It's coming through again, but it's going to get squashed again because people want to keep doing this other stuff, and it doesn't work. That stuff doesn't work. Healing happens through movement, not sitting stagnant in an office repeating things over and over. Healing happens is when you're actually out there involved in doing something in an activity. That's how I see it anyways. My healing didn't come from sitting doing sessions with someone. It was by doing an activity and having a session at the same time, and I didn't even realize I was having a session. There was some conversation happening about an issue or a topic, but we were doing other things while we were doing it. And then when the wellness came from it, was kind of like, I got the wellness from that, what we did, that activity. But no, I got it from both. It was from the session / activity that made the difference. But healing has become so stagnant now. It's like not moving,
Well, it comes into money, right? Everything that you're doing needs to be quantified. You know, the programs that are being run need to be quantified.
Yeah.
You know, the ministry needs to see, this many number of asses were in the seat. They had 15 kids.
Yeah.
Those 15 kids might have been bored off their ass, sitting there listening to an hour talk, maybe that I did or who knew Joe Blow did. But it's about that, right?
Yeah.
The ministry needs the money. It's all bureaucratic red tape lately these days.
But the biggest, like I said, the biggest thing we did with reaching kids or teaching social skills has all been through activity, sports, games, skills, whether it's through music, hiking.
Well, that's why I remain with Sister Margaret Smith to this day. I've been there since I graduated from the Confederation Colleges, because it's the one program where kids come there and they can walk out if they want. They're not forced to be there for the most part. There's some kids that come in with stipulations or pressure on them, but it's pretty experiential. Like, we have a lot of freedom there. So I'm still very proud of that program. And anyone listening there, the Sister Margaret Smith, the Youth Addiction Program, does a really good job of bringing in speakers like yourself to deal with people. They have, Helen, who comes in and does yoga with them. They have recreationists. We take the kids on outings, paid recreation. So it's very good. I'm shifting gears a little bit. Tell me what you think of my theory where all these things I think stem from in society has, in my opinion, been the intentional, systematic breakdown of the family. That is what I think is the root cause. I don't care if it's what the family looks like, but two people, it's hard to raise kids by yourself. And my hat goes off to any human being who does it, because I just had my stepdaughter for a week to myself, and it was exhausting.
Oh, for sure.
And she's 11. She's dressing herself, showering herself, making snacks herself. And I was exhausted by the end of the week, carrying on my own passions and hobbies. So I can only imagine somebody who's already coming up in life with a little bit of struggles, and then all of a sudden they're left alone, and now they got to give this kid attention. They got to put them in purposeful, pleasurable activities that they're bringing them to. Money's finances are strapped. I would just love to see. That would be my hope for the future, where this could shift. I don't care if it's two men who are the parents, two women who are the parents. I don't care what they're calling their genders, whatever. I just want to see a family again. Because I think
there's definitely a lot of breakdown. And not just family breakdown, but community breakdown. There's a lot of community breakdown. People don't connect in the same way that they used to. Well, people don't even talk to each other anymore. They talk to other people on the phone while they're sitting together. So if that's happening at that level, what's happening at our community level? I think things have changed dramatically. People have lost a lot of faith in some things, and belief systems and practices. I think some people have kicked a lot of things to the curb. And in some ways it's been a bad thing. In other ways it's probably been a good thing, because I think there's been a lot of systems that have been doing a lot of power and control. And maybe that's one of those teachings that someone would say to me again, Ron, it's the lesser of two evils. At least when everybody's congregated together and we're all sticking together, it's better than when everyone's kind of just roaming, aimless and lonely in this direction and that direction. And maybe there's a point to that. When everybody starts going off on their own, it's like lost sheep, and the farmer, and people have gone so far, the farmer can't even find them anymore. Like they're right off the farmyard. They're gone.
Oh, for sure.
And they're in uncharted territories, in the woods. What they're not used to, There's no field, there's no fence, there's nothing to contain you. They're just kind of roaming.
Well, it's not going backwards. That's my hope, to return to family, but I don't know if that's somewhat naive when you got, 3-year-olds on iPads playing video games designed by, casino developers, which is
just getting them prepared.
Getting them, getting them hooked into, consuming. But I don't know. I'm still hopeful. I think the human's natural spirit or soul is good. I think compassion is people's. I've watched documentaries on that they say, you see an old lady fall on the street, and generally anybody with an eyesight of that is going to be running over helping. Compassion and caring is our first. It's still there.
It still exists.
It's still in our hearts.
But my mom had just mentioned to me that when she watched a lady fall fairly recently, my mom was out walking and a lady had fallen, and nobody stopped in their car for 15 minutes. And my mom just sat with her, and the lady didn't have a cell phone, and my mom just kind of stood there, hopeless situation. My mom feeling helpless. She didn't have a cell phone. She didn't know where I should run somewhere. Like, well, where can I use the phone? You know, I got to find someone with one of these cell phones, because there are no phones. I can't even run to a payphone. I don't know what to do. So my mom's kind of waving at cars, and people are just driving. Finally, someone stopped, you know, and she says that wouldn't have happened a few years ago. This would have been a lot quicker. But everyone else was kind of like so focused on where they were going, or some people did a glance and then a judgment of, no, I'm not getting involved. And then, of course, she said there was a couple went by, they were on their phone, looking at their phone, but someone on the phone called, from a vehicle, someone called and said there's a lady down on the street. So it was like someone still got involved, but not directly, but it's like, I'll call this in. You know, I'm en route somewhere. I'll call it in, and
probably end up on Thunder Bay Concerned Citizens prior to
with a few pictures. Yeah, lady on the street fell down.
I hate that we even gave that group a plug on here. I find that gross. But
it's got some darkness going on there. That's for sure.
On what do you see the hope for Thunder Bay and the positivity in the future? What would you like to see?
Oh, well,
it's a loaded question.
Loaded question. Yeah. Well, one of the things I think is, if we keep talking negative, it isn't going to get better.
No.
And the ones that do keep talking need to start modeling. Too much talking, not enough modeling.
I like that.
Not enough doing. If you really want to make a difference, get off your social media and put your boots on, come outside and make a difference. There's that one young fella, I've lost his name, the one that does the cleanup. He started up on the north side of the city. He was at the Salvation Army, and he would just go out and collect garbage and litter in the parks and on the street.
Jeremy, you know?
He won an award at the City of Thunder Bay last year.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, that's an example of an individual. Don't sit around and go, I can't stand all the garbage and everyone's
was he
making
doing like the needle cleanup and all that?
He did everything.
Yes.
Him and his girl, was it him and his partner? Or?
Well, first he was alone. He was basically working a part-time job. He was staying at the shelter house.
Yeah.
He didn't have a place of his own, and then on his free time he got garbage bags and went and cleaned up our city.
Awesome.
And then he has a following now, and people have joined him, and they do cleanups at certain times, and people have joined him and are participating with him. And that's what I mean. That's how you make Thunder Bay better. Practice it. You know?
Well, it's like what we were talking about before on the phone. And you're right. I want to shift gears off the less than mentality, because that's we're just beating a dead horse, and we're getting the negative. But
yeah. I can sit and complain about homelessness, and I can sit and complain about these people and those people and this. That's just destructive. That's community destructive behavior. What you need to do is just model something better.
Create something
better. And if you think about it, that's what we're actually here to do. That's if you look at our purpose, and it doesn't matter what practice or religious belief if you look and study why are we here?
To leave this earth a little bit better when you move on to the next wherever we go, or if we don't go.
You
leave it a little better.
Take care of things. Be responsible. Be accountable. Get involved. You know, and that's purposeful stuff. But when you're just sitting around complaining and whining and moping and that's here nor there. You know, and it's really hard nowadays to sit and listen to it repeatedly. It's kind of like, if you want change, you got to get out there and do something positive. Don't sit there and complain about it.
What's interesting, I'll chat with somebody who's moved here from Guelph, from Southern Ontario, and they're going to university, people from Ottawa. You know, I run into a lot of people, various people in my travels and day, and they love this city.
Yeah.
They say, people here are awesome. There's so much cool underground things going on here. Like, you know, you can work out at 20 different gyms. There's, you know, a local comedian scene. There's everything. There's whatever flavor you like, there's out there, and there's cool things happening. So
there's nothing, I don't know. It's where you put your energy. I feel, and sure, there's some things going on here. We've got some issues, and but put your energy into it to make change, not just feed into negativity, and because that's where that hopeless and helplessness feeling comes from, and then and it doesn't go away. You just, it makes it worse, right? So you have to do something positive to counteract that. That's all you got to do. Just do something positive.
And now I know you. Are you still in the same community that you've always lived in? Are you still?
I'm in the Ogden East End.
You are,
and it's a little darker than it's ever been. This is as dark as I've ever seen it. But we've allowed it to get there.
But I know
and when I say we, I'll be part of that. We've all participated in it. When we drive down the road and look the other way, I don't see them. I'm not getting involved in that. I'm not. As soon as you do that, you're part of the issue. Everybody becomes part of the problem, right? If I'm online just ranting and raving about it, I'm still part of the problem because I'm not doing anything actively to change anything. I'm just complaining about it on a massive level. So instead of sitting in the truck yelling about it, or sitting at the kitchen table talking to my mother or my wife complaining about it, what are we doing? If you want things to stop, or you want things to get better, or you want to promote something, you're gonna have to come up with a different approach, right?
I've heard some,
and that's how things change.
Real positive. My mom's visited some of those places there on Simpson there. The River, I believe, is one, and I forget the name of the other one, but they seem to be doing really great things there for the homeless in the community to provide meals and support and whatnot. Do you have your ear to any other support networks that are doing really great things?
A program, or I'm not going to call it a program. Let's call it. I'm going to give it a new name. A purpose. I'm gonna say that a purpose that I find that has been very powerful in our community has been Grace Ministries.
That's the one I was looking
for. I walk in there. I was amazed at the efforts that individuals put in there, and that's people. There's an example of people doing purposeful things, and maybe there's people there living their passion too, and their passion might be helping, right? But I see a lot of purposeful people giving their time, not taking, giving their time and sharing with others, and that to me is purpose. And you can call that God's purpose or individual purpose or whatever you want to call it, but there's purpose happening there, and that I wholeheartedly support that program.
Tell me a little bit, because my mom went there and she told me she thoroughly enjoyed it and said the same thing. You think, oh man, they have the nail on the head what they're doing over there. Well, what kind of service are they providing?
Well, they have meal programs. They have clothing depots. They have a place to sleep in the wintertime when there's no beds left at the shelter house, so they're kind of catching the slack of when the shelter house got overwhelmed with individuals looking for assistance. Grace Ministries just stepped up and started creating a space for people to be safe and in the warmth. I've seen things like haircuts and awesome. And people getting a place to get their clothes clean. Like it's kind of like a basic needs. But the other part that I witnessed there is there's a love factor there. So it's not just doing tasks for people. I see people invested in people paying attention to people. That's that thing again, attention and compassion. That's the thing that I saw there that blew me away, and I was like, I want to get involved. But what I do is I do what's called guilt involvement. I don't have the time, so I give money. It's like I'll give money to this program, but I still and I do it because I wish I could be actually on the floor helping, but I'm spread so thin going this way and that way, and it's like, well, I'll do the next best thing. I'll send money so that they can buy things that they need or get things that they need for people, and maybe that's an easy way out.
I don't think so.
I think
you're doing what you can.
But I think a person could put a little more effort. There's many days I've been sitting with a few hours with my feet up on the couch going, what should I do? And put your shoes on and go down and help, But sometimes I just don't think of that. And I'm like, I should go and see if I can participate. And, and that's the thing, because that's how things change. You got to get involved, right?
Yes.
But that's what I do. I send money now. It's kind of like I don't have time to get a gift. I'll just send money. Here's some money in an envelope. And I do that with presents. I don't want to shop. Here's money in an envelope.
Yeah, there's that.
It's the quick way out. Pick out your own gift.
There's something else to that, though. I have a few people in my life who still are old school, who will make something or who will go the extra mile to grab you something. And boy, does that feel awesome when you get something that's
not like, here you
not
go.
A gift card or cash. Yeah. So.
And it's always bigger too. It's like, here's a Cineplex card for $250. That's a guilt gift. This is like, you didn't even try. It's like, but I went and bought something big. Here you go. This is like, sorry, I didn't really take the time, but I spent lots of money, so that shows how much time and how much I love you, because I spent this much money on it.
So shifting gears from both the city, because I'm just curious on my own self-pleasure, want to pick your brain on. So when did you find the passion for comedy? How did that spark? Where did that spark from?
Okay. I'll do the whole history. You
don't have to give me the whole. You can if you want.
I think it makes the story complete.
Okay.
So, all the way. Let's go back. Let's go back to when I was a kid. I'm 13 years old.
Okay.
We're watching VHS. Or wait, was that one on? No, this one was on beta. This was on beta tape. Eddie Murphy, Delirious.
Oh my God.
I was at a friend's house across from my grandma's. Yeah. This older guy that I knew, he was in high school. He says, I got to show you a tape. There's a guy from Saturday Night Live. You got to watch this. Mm-hmm. And he says, and we knew we were up to no good. Like, we went to the curtains. Mm-hmm. It was like we were going to do drugs or something. We looked outside. Is there anyone coming? We locked all the doors, and he turned it on. And I watched Eddie Murphy, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is so funny. And it was funny because here is an African American telling stories, and I was like, that's anybody's dad. That just isn't an African American. I know dads that are just like this. This is my house, and if you don't like it, you can. I was like, wow, this is great. Yeah. And I thought to myself, I'm 13 years old, going, I could do this.
Yeah.
I could tell. I have stories already. I swear like a sailor. This is perfect for me. So I told my dad one day. I said, I want to be a comedian when I grow up. And my dad said, oh yeah? Which in Northern Ontario means you're an idiot. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. I don't care what family that is. When your father goes, oh yeah, he thinks you're a dingaling. My dad said to me, son, there are no comedians from Northern Ontario. He said comedians are black, Jewish, or Italian. They come from New York City, Chicago, or Los Angeles, of which you are none of the above. So get your head out of the stars and start thinking about your path to manhood.
What a million kids probably heard in their lives when they said shared their dreams.
Whatever their dream was. Well, yeah, I'm going to play in the AHL. No, you're not. Mm-hmm. It's not happening. You would already be on your way. You're not. It's not going to go down. So it was like, okay, well. So the next thing I came up with, now I'm getting 16 years old. I've got long hair now. It's the time of hair bands, and I'm like, I'm going to be a rock star. And my dad said, oh yeah, and he laughed at that too. And he goes, son, there's no rock stars from Northern Ontario. They come from London, England, Toronto. They got an honorable mention. I'm not quite sure. There must have been a band. He's probably aware of Rush or
Tragically Hip.
Yeah. He knew. He was aware someone was on the radio that's from Toronto. So and he didn't throw Winnipeg in, which I thought he would have, because Bachman Turner Overdrive. Like, they should have got an honorable mention at least.
I didn't know they were from that.
Yeah. So then he goes New York City, Chicago, and Los Angeles, of which you are none of the above. So you need to get your head out of fantasy land and start thinking about, what you're going to do. I roamed around lost. I got involved in addictions pretty early. It was very common from where I come from. Kids drank regularly.
Where was home
heavily.
at this time?
At that time, I was in Dryden, Ontario.
Okay.
We did a lot of drinking. Of course, it was called partying, and that's what you did on the weekends. But it started to carry into Thursdays, Tuesday night if we got a jug. Next thing you know, some of us were doing it quite frequently. Some parents would just let us drink at certain people's houses because they thought if we keep our kids inside, it's better than letting us run freely out. So it was enabling behaviors, and just setting us up for, for alcoholism, really.
Yeah.
And whereas some parents should have said, no, you're not doing this. You're underage. This is ridiculous. You guys need to, shut this down. I know we would just carry on, and I wasn't the only one. Like I'm the one leading the way in this. It was common practice by a lot of young people at that time.
Well, I want to interject there for a second. I almost think it's more important at that parent that time when they see these problems arising, not to come down like the iron fist, but look, I go, what those things that we were talking about before? What's this kid missing? Hey, maybe they want to play soccer, or maybe they want to go into martial arts or play that guitar, you know? Maybe I need to use my insight and not just try to give the rote standard, okay, you were drinking, here's a week punishment, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's take that kid, maybe the kid needs a touch more attention to be brought to their hockey game or something.
And then when you think about why were all those kids doing that, right? Belonging, self-esteem, identity, and purpose. We're missing all of it, and everybody was just kind of, this is what we did, right? I came down here and went to school. Crystal Beer through a competition at the college. All my friends encouraged me to enter this thing, and I did. I put my name in. Drank way too much and took a variety of chemicals. I didn't get on stage. I didn't take my turn. The next day I felt like a failure, and I did quite frequently.
You didn't get on stage for what exactly?
I didn't get on stage and do the comedy. I didn't,
there was a comedy night.
It was a comedy night.
What were you in school for at that time?
At that time, it was business. Okay. I took general business because I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I went into school to get away from where I lived.
Okay.
It wasn't to find a career. Mm-hmm. I just heard that I could go to school in Thunder Bay, and I went, and I escaped my home life and my family and my high school sweetheart and everything. I just got away from everybody, and I came down here and I said things are going to be better here. I want to find something new. Well, I got into the same, but 10 times worse here in Thunder Bay, because that's where I chose to travel, you know. And of course, I wasn't being guided by anyone or anything, so I just fell into the same old behavior, and I got involved with that here in Thunder Bay. So I blew the competition. I didn't even go on stage. Comedy didn't come up till I think it was between about 38 to 40. I hit a stage. I was married, and then I started the midlife crisis. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I have half of my life left. What do I want to do with my time? Spending hours and hours on the internet, surfing, doing aimless, just nothing, playing games. My wife was sleeping alone. I was up till 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then get up and go to work at 7 or 8, jump out of bed and just take off and go in. And I did this for several years. Insomnia, maybe depression, I don't know, a combination of anxiety and depression, like a kind of a gambit of everything all mixed together. And I finally just was sitting at the computer one day, and I said, you need to stop it right now, stop it. So I shut it off, and I went and laid in bed, and I couldn't go to sleep, and I said, stop it, go to bed. So I went to sleep, and I think it was a few weeks later, I'm driving down the road, and 94 FM plays this commercial of Kinsman comedy and competition, and as soon as I heard it, I said, there you go.
You let go.
Go get it.
Yeah.
You wanted it. You were thinking about it. That's what you wanted to do when you were young. Go get it if you're gonna. So I drove up there, and I went and signed up. I said, "Can I still sign up?" I drove. I remember I turned the car around. I drove up there, and it said because it said the first 10 entry. I got up there. I was number 9. I pulled in. I was number 9. I said, "I really want to go in this." I got out in the parking lot, and I remember going, and I actually did a dry heave, and I'm like, what the heck was that? And I got so wound up about it that I almost got sick. And then I thought, what the heck is the matter with you? Like, what? So the competition comes up. As it gets closer, I got a couple of themes written down and funny things I think I'm going to do and say. And then I'm like, are people going to like this? Or am I going to crash? Or am I going to fail at this? And I started getting sick again. I was like, oh my God. That night, at the Da Vinci, I think I did about, I always tell people I think I did about 105, but I think minus exaggeration, I remember counting over 67 for sure, of just going, I never threw up, which I should have just did it and got it over with.
Yeah.
But I kept going, oh gosh, I'm splashing water in my face. I checked my pulse.
Moly.
My heart's just like, it's just beating steady. I'm freaking out. And what am I so scared of? I was trying to wrap my head around, what are you so scared of? I'm scared of failure. And I'm scared that my dad's right. Because my dad's always right. Even when he's wrong, he's right. And I'm going to get up there and I'm going to make a total fool of myself. And I should have listened to my dad. But I went up.
Because that was ingrained in you.
It was great, yeah. It was 2009. And I went up. Did my set. And it was a tough room. They had the lights off.
Where was it?
It was at the Da Vinci, where they always held it.
Okay.
And people were babbling, and people were like outright drunk by the time I went on. And was I in ninth position? 9 or 10? I was right near the end. I even won one of the best spots. I won the pole position at the end. Like, it was awesome. Like, I always feel sad for guys when they got to go first or second. It's like, oh man, unless you're just dynamite, people are going to forget about you, right? And I got this position at the end, and I hammered it pretty good, I thought. Now, I've watched the video since. I went, oh man, that was sad. Because the delivery, because you could see the uneasiness to some degree. But I still thought I brought it pretty good. At the end, I won second. And I put my head down and I went, yeah, my dad was right. You're no good at this. I got second. You're no good.
Your first show.
Because your first show ever, yeah. But in my mind is, if you're good, you should be able to win. So they handed out the envelopes. I was starting to walk out, and this guy says to me, hey. And I look over, and it's John Caponera. He was, they brought him in to be the headliner at the end.
Yeah.
And John calls me over and he says, hey, I wanted to shake your hand before you leave. And he shakes my hand. Now, John Caponera, he's everything that my dad said. He's Italian. And he's from the south side of Chicago. He's a comedian. Why? Because he has all the traits of a comedian, right? He has the nationality. He has the city behind him. My dad's right. He's one of the best. And why? Because, well, he's built for this, right? This is what it's all about. He's everything that a comedian is supposed to be. So he says, I wanted to let you know before you left, you were pretty impressive up there. And I said, yeah, so impressive, I got second. And he said, look, competitions are subjective. I don't know about the two guys sitting by me, what the hell they were thinking. But he says, in my books, you were number one. Wow. And he says, you said things up there that I've never heard. A lot of people borrow stuff from, he says, you had stuff that and it was creative. He said, I had never, and I laughed. And I said, for me to laugh at something, it's got to be pretty good, he says, because I've heard it all. And he says, you could really go somewhere with this, son. And I was like, son, I'm 40 almost 40.
Were you older than him? Or
no, he says he was way older.
Oh, he's way older.
At that point, he had like 26 years in the business. Okay. Like, he's a veteran, seasoned veteran. And I was like, son, I'm like old enough, to be your colleague, kind of thing. And he just said, this guy that won first, he ain't going anywhere with this. I'm telling you that right now, because I've seen it. He's cheering. He's won the title. He's done. He's going to go back to the same old routine. He says, you're going to stew in this. You're going to stew in this sauce. You're going to stew in this sauce. You're going to boil slow in it. You're going to come back and you're going to win this next year. And he says, and after that, I don't know where you're going to go, but if you decide to go, you're going to go.
Nice.
And I went, thanks. I shook his hand. I said, well, and then I went home and I played that tape for one. I was like, John Caponera said, he must know something. He's been doing this for a long time. But I still doubted it. Right? So another year goes by, I come back and I win it. I win this title. And then 2 years later, I get on stage with a guy named Daryl Lennox. He comes to our city. I do 4 sold out shows with him over at the Hoyto. And he's amazing. I don't talk to him. I don't bother him. I see these guys, the headliners, they sit in the corner, they're prepping, they're doing what they got to do. People are chitter-chattering at them, bugging them. And I just stay out of their hair and I sit back and I give him space, and he walks over to me and he introduces himself, shakes my hand. He says, nice to meet me. At the end of the 4 shows, he comes up to me and he says, how long you been doing this? I said, I just started. I said, I just started. This year I quit my job 2012. I just left Lakehead Regional Family Center. I'm done there. And Children's Center Thunder Bay.
Children's Center now.
Children's Center Thunder Bay.
I forgot that acronym.
So I left Children's Center Thunder Bay. It was a new name. And I decided this is what I'm going to do. And he says, how long you been at this? And I said, well, I won a competition in 2010. I did a couple small shows around here. But I run my own shows. I don't work for anybody. I don't have an agent. I just do my own thing. I build my own shows. He goes, you're a pusher. He says, I envy you. It took me 8 years to get where you are. Mm-hmm. You're just starting and you're 8 years ahead of me. And he goes, I feel like I blew it. I wasted 8 years of my life. He says, because watching you he says, you're going somewhere. And he invited me to join him for a little tour in Florida. He says, I'd love for you to come with, but I'll be honest with you, the pay is terrible. You'll be sleeping in your car in the parking lot. I said, I got a family. I think at that time I had 7 or 8 people at my house. I was like, I got a family of 8. I can't be doing $100 a night. I got to make it go. I got to keep doing these bigger shows, and I got to keep doing workshops, and I got to do things. I got to get involved in other things. There's no way I could go on the road and live like the comedians do, like the stories that I do. To grind. I said, I can make more money at Walmart and probably do a show in the back for the staff and make more, and he says, yeah, you're right. And he said, I wish you all the best. He says, you got it, brother. You got it. He says, you got this. And I'm like, thank you, sir. And when he said that, I finally went home and said, I'm a comedian.
Nice.
Now I believe it. I had one guy say it and was like, nah. And the second guy said, you got this. So what I started to do from there was kind of like, I started thinking about how I'm going to go up. And I can that right away. I decided it's not about going up, it's about going forward. And I started to meet all these people. I got to get on this festival. I got to do this show. I have to do this theater because that makes me who I am. I have to get these titles and names behind me. I have to get on this radio station. And I just said, no, I just got to do some shows. Mm-hmm. I just got to get out there and perform. Mm-hmm. I just got to get out there and deliver. And if I live my passion, I'm going to be a happy cat. Mm-hmm. And that's all I do. And I'm still doing that. It's not, for me, it's not about, I need to get to TV. I need to get on the radio. If it happens, it happens. But right now, it's just happening. Mm-hmm. And if it's meant to happen, it'll, in my opinion, but it'll only happen by the way you're doing it. Yeah. There's an old Zen parable that I learned at a temple. The swordsman wanted to be the best swordsman in the world, so he climbed to the highest mountain to learn from the master. And he says, I need to be the best swordsman in all of China in 5 years. And he says, I'll train day and night. And he says, it'll take you 10. He says, well, I'll train day and night, no waking moment. He says, it'll take you 15. And he said, well, what do you mean? If I train and I won't sleep, I'll set. He said, it'll take you 20. And it's essentially kind of like the parable. What you're saying is, the harder you reach for those arbitrary goals, those makeshift illusions of what success is, you're just pushing them away almost even further, because you're not building the craft. What your message to me is so counter-transferable to whatever passion you hold. I'm a martial arts competitor, and if I stopped it when I got second place or third, shit, I would have stopped a long time ago. If my soul got crushed from that. And failure is a teacher. And I love the saying Brett Favre. I've read a lot of autobiographies, and they have, to me, some of the best messages. And Brett Favre's is, he and Michael Jordan are kind of close in this parallel, as they have as many successes as they have failures. For every shot Michael Jordan's hit for that big game, he's missed 50% of those same shots. So it's not about all the wins you see. Those come with time, but it's about forward, like you said, not up, but just keep doing what you're doing and enjoying what you're doing, right? My dad gave me a saying one time, and I don't think it had nothing to do with comedy. It had nothing to do with being a rock star or any of those types of things. My dad basically said to me, from watching the people in the news at that time, because it wasn't about looking at the computer, it was about people in the news, and he said, you got to watch how high you climb that mountain, because he says she's a hell of a fall off the other side. And he said, and that's what he's watched in his time, when people climb and strive and they get to the top, he says they spill down the other side. Yes. And at that time he's talking about people like Elvis Presley, you know,
you name it.
The guy
everyone loves to see your hero fall. It's
and they do, right? Because they crash, and it's still happening today. We see these people, these icons, and their light burns bright, and they burn out. Mm-hmm. And I'm not doing this so I can get a star or a fame I'm doing it because I like doing it. Right. It's fun, you know, and it's fun, and I enjoy doing it. And I don't know if it ever gets where it's not fun anymore, I'm going to stop. Mm-hmm. And when it does get, you know, where I'm not feeling it, I do take a break. I stop for a while. I'm like, well, I'm off for 3 weeks. I'm not going to do this for a bit, mm-hmm. and allow myself to just do something else. Mm-hmm. But it's been great doing something that's just fun. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, people started to tell me laughter is the best medicine. So you're practicing a purpose now. I was like, no, don't call it a purpose. It's not a purpose. And maybe it is. I don't know. I'm out there now trying to lighten the load for people and have fun. But no, I think I'm just doing it because it's fun.
I love that message, because I won't divulge you, but that exact message, I'm going to try to integrate that into my being, the passion and purpose one, and finding that balance, because I've seen people who have taken their passion and made it in their life, and it's a job to them now. And they don't. And they've said to me behind the scenes, you know, I don't want to do that anymore as my job.
Kills it. Yeah.
You know, I love athletics and all, and yoga. I used to love it. People say, "Oh, get your yoga certificate. Become a yoga teacher." I said, I don't want to teach yoga. I go there because I love getting away from everything and getting away from the world. That's my passion, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to inherit the position.
No, exactly. So
yeah, I think that makes that's a very important thing to distinguish, so you don't kill the love for something that you have, right? And but when I do get opportunities, I get pretty excited. Like when someone gives me an opportunity to do something, I guess, cool, or with somebody cool or someone famous, I get excited about it. Mm-hmm. And it's because in the back of my head, I was told this is never gonna happen. And it's kind of like, well, now that I've done this, all the cool people that I've met, you know, like along the way, and I've worked at a couple country festivals and I saw
festival. Your bio. You've met some cool people.
Probably. Oh yeah, and it's been really neat, right? And when I get an opportunity to spend time or share a time to converse with people, Tom Jackson or Great White or Billy Ray Cyrus, or like all these different individuals that I've been able to connect with. It's been really cool, like just having conversations, and in some cases actually get to talk to someone on a little closer level, as opposed to just hi, hello, how are you, get a picture and move on, but to actually sit like what we're doing and mm-hmm. talk about life, and you get another perspective and you go, wow. Mm-hmm. This was an amazing opportunity, or wow, you're carrying a bit of a burden, aren't you? You know, and because everybody thinks, oh, when you're this person or you got this, everything's great. Mm-hmm. No, it's not. No. They got stuff they're carrying, you know. And
I appreciated heavily your humility in our conversation. I won't get into it, but like I went, wow. He opened up to me, and I always saw Ron as the leader. Ron as the confident guy who walks in the room, and, you know, not to say that you were unconfident, but it was a side of you that I'd never seen, and it was super cool. And that's why I developed this, and people have asked, why the podcast? There's so many cool people in my life that I've met, but I need to be a little selfish and create something so I can rope them in to get them into this personal conversation, because there's so many interesting people out there with cool stories. So. Yeah. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and even just doing this now.
I appreciate it. You know, it's like I said, it's been interesting, and I know when I came today, it's like I was kind of guarded. Be careful what you say. Be careful how you talk. Watch what you know. Try not to offend. Because there are two sides to me right now. Like and since I've gone into comedy, I've kind of got a I don't care attitude mm-hmm. about some stuff, and I purposely poke the bear sometimes. But I think the healing and wellness piece within me says, hey, I put boundaries on myself. You need to, you know, settle down. I'll see something and I start writing. I'll write something on the internet about anybody that believes this, you're a complete moron. And it's like, take that down. I never hit it because it's like, don't. Mm-hmm. And don't lose people. Like I try to stay open-minded.
Yes.
And I truly believe that, you know, everybody can't believe the same thing. Mm-hmm. because that would be just as scary.
Yes.
Whether it's positive or negative, we kind of need that balance in the world to challenge. Everybody needs to challenge things.
True.
Because if we all get on the same page and everybody wears the same colored clothes and everybody says the exact, that's kind of cultish.
Socialism is what it is. And socialism ends terribly every time.
It's weird. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. Yeah. So if some nut over there wants to believe something, that's his right to believe that. And maybe I shouldn't even call him a nut. Yep. He's based, an individual's doing something based on the knowledge and the education that they have on an issue or a topic. That's all they have. They're just going with what they know.
Yes.
Well,
a very wise man, once I brought this point up to him, exactly that. I said, I can't believe I have pretty opposite spectrum views on a lot of things, where they could ruffle a lot of feathers, or people would be 100% in agreement. And the wise man said, well, what is that in you that wants to prove someone else wrong? Like, what is that in you that wants to make the other person feel stupid about their belief or whatever? And I really went, and that's where I stop I don't respond to anything on Facebook. I don't comment. What's the point? You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
I slip up. I've done it a few times on the show. I've given some pretty, opinionated point of views at times, but I try not to for the most sense. I want growth. I want, like what we were talking about when we shifted that gear from, Thunder Bay, you can call it a piece of crap to death, you know what I mean? Or you can say, look at how cool it is and how many people in this community are doing amazing things, and backboning off of the kids and stuff we're talking before. I've never seen a time with all this technology, the superpower, talents, like where you might have not become the comedian. Kids now are amazing artists. They're picking up guitars at 8 years old and are unbelievable now. And they don't have the parents saying, you can't be I think because there's kids on YouTube doing YouTube channels who are millionaires now.
My daughter learned how to play instruments from YouTube. I put her in lessons and she just couldn't get it. I remember sending my girl to guitar lessons. And, 6 or 7 months, she came back and she could play E minor. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be expensive, $800 a chord. I don't know how long, I don't know if I got the money to support this. Maybe music's not your thing, I'm not sure. But I said $700 and that's what I mean. I started into comedy. I said $700 for E minor. This is going to get awfully expensive, hun. She went upstairs. I think it was June. She got out of school, closed the door. She was up there. I could hear her, but you couldn't hear anything clear. I tried to even go stand outside the door. I couldn't really pick anything up. She comes down in August, and me and my wife are sitting on the couch, and she says, I'd like to play a song for you. And I was like, in the back of my mind, I was going, boy, this is going to be a cool number in E minor. Just singing monotonely in one chord for an entire song. She does this chord progression change, has words on a paper, but doesn't even look at it, sings me a song. And I sat there and I said, whose song is that? I don't recognize it. And she says, it's mine, I wrote it. And I went, oh boy, we got some. And I looked at my wife and I said, it's pretty good. I said, it's pretty good. I said, for a kid that played E minor 2 months ago to write a song, and it had a nice flow to it, and I said, it's not just because it's my kid. It's pretty good. Thank you, Daddy. Off she goes again. She goes upstairs. She does a couple more, and I'm like, okay, this is good. And she becomes a musician, right? And I fueled it. I put petrol in that tank to keep it going. I just kept feeding that gas tank. Let's do this. Feed the spirit. Keep feeding this kid's spirit. And then she started going in competitions and winning. And I was like, okay, well, again, subjective, but
talent is
there. She likes doing this. She likes doing it. She's got a passion for it. Daddy, can you buy me a piano? I was like, okay. Well, are you going to take lessons? Nah, I'll learn off YouTube. I figured she could play guitar. I bought her a piano. She went upstairs. She comes downstairs. Daddy, I got a song for you. Can you come up to my room? She played it on the piano, and I just cried.
Wow.
And I was like, I played two-fingered organ when I was a kid, like with numbers. I couldn't even read notes. It was like 2 2 5 5 5 plus. Like I didn't even have a music. I just couldn't get it. And here she is playing chords. you know. And she had a piece of tape, and she wrote all the notes out, and then eventually she could pull the tape off. She didn't need it anymore, and she played the piano, and I was just like, wow. You know. And of course we supported it, and that's that thing, support people's passion, right? And support your kids' passions. And she went to Metalworks, she went to school, and now she's working at MMHMM in Toronto, and you know, she's doing Best Buy commercials. She's actually made some Best Buy commercials. I watch TV, and Best Buy comes on, and I can hear my daughter singing. I'm like, there you go. You know?
That's cool.
Yeah, I paid for that. School. But it's beautiful, you know, to see someone excel at something they love. And I got my son. I love him to death. He didn't do anything that I wanted. He didn't follow in my footsteps in any way, shape, or form. Matter of fact, he kind of pulled away from the things that I did. He never walked Powwow Trail. After he got a little older, he walked away from that. Social work wasn't his gig. I even introduced him to comedy. He got up one time and did some comedy at the Paramount Theater. And he was funny. He was just a little kid up there doing dirty jokes. It was like, oh wow, people were cheering for him. But I thought he could probably do this. He sat on a stool with a mic and he delivered some material, a couple of things that he wrote himself. And I thought, you know, he's gonna be like his dad. And next thing you know, he's in a shop and he comes home with stuff that he made at welding. And I'm like, oh, welding. I hated that. I hated the you know, the trades. That wasn't my gig. But he's good at it, you know, and he finished high school and he's a welder, and now he's in college. And I said, if you don't go to college, you're not going to get that money that I put away for you. You got to go to the school, and so that's what he did, and he's amazing at it. But I just keep feeding, you know, their passion, and he likes it, and I think that's what's important. We just got to keep doing that for our kids, right?
Yes.
Keep feeding that passion.
Well, this building that we're in right now, Westford Productions, inspired me a long time because Matt, one of the owners, I remember him in a video saying, like, we're in a different world now. We're in the world where you can live in Thunder Bay and you can do media production in other cities. It's everything's so digital now and online. And this light bulb, even like, I can't remember how long ago, that was 5 or 6 years ago, this light bulb went up and he said, he's right. Like you remember your dad saying, and your dad was not right, but he was a little bit practical.
Was limited.
Like, you know, back in the day, you wanted to be a musician. Holy shit, you had to get in your car and go travel, like, you know, to Toronto. You had to leave on a dream and a hope. And but now kids can learn from 8 years old a craft, and you know, if they're good at it by 14, 15, the world is available to do whatever almost now. So it's really exciting times, and I think maybe that's where the hope lies in that availability of passion in people to really pursue that and find that connection, as opposed to, you know, getting aimlessly lost. That's something.
Well, and you're very true, that belief about we have to go somewhere else to do what we want to do, because that's the thing about comedy. Everybody told me, you're never going to go anywhere in Thunder Bay. You're never going to amount to anything in Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay is not going to do anything for you. And I was like, no, I'm going to drop my penny into the pool, and those ripples are going to ripple out. And I'm going to ripple out. I'm going to drop my penny here, and I'm going to ripple out. I'm not going to go to Toronto. I'm not going to do open mics. I'm not going to go and beg yucks for a job yet. Maybe I will someday. But everyone told me, you know, you got to go to these places, and you got to try and push your way in and work for free for years and beg, and then maybe you'll get a spot at Just for Laughs. And maybe, and I was like, nah. I'm not going to kiss people's butt. I'm not going to be treated less than. I'm going to build my own creation right here, and I'm going to ripple out in every direction, and I'm going to go as far as I go. You know? And how far have I gone? Well, I've done Minnesota, I've done Wisconsin, I've done North Dakota, I've done British Columbia, I've done most of Ontario. You know, I got gigs going. I've gone in every direction. I've been over in Quebec. I've done some shows in Quebec. So, like I said, it's about going. It's not about going up. It's just about going.
Yes.
And I'm enjoying that. I'm not worried about, I gotta do this so I can, if I jump this step, then I'll get known, and then I can get this theater, or I can perform at this thing with this group. No, I'm not gonna stress myself out about that. And then when I found out the truth about it, a lot of the veterans told me the abuse they went through for years, underpaid, mistreated, and they've taken it for years. And I'm like, I'm not carrying that bitterness. And then when they don't make it or they get kicked to the curb, then they're crashed because they've been demoralized and destroyed. I'm like, I'm not going to be that person.
I've been researching that a lot lately with celebrities in Hollywood, a lot of actors, that system is very sick and perverse in a lot of ways. And a lot of people are saying no to the big roles now, and they're just taking passion projects and creating their own careers, how they want it to look.
Well, some of these, like you said, everybody can do it where they're at now. And young people that have made documentaries and stuff on $10,000-$15,000 and they've pulled off like amazing projects and then turned it into something big, and the big leagues won't let them in. Okay, I'll just put her online and they become YouTube famous. Well,
exactly.
I think that's amazing, and that goes to show that the human spirit, you don't have to take no. Find some different routes. And that's another example of a system that's unwell. Of course, everybody tells you this is the way you have to do it because the powers that be have a system running that way. It's in their best interest, not mine. It's what they're going to take from me. I said, I'm not giving them anything. And if that means I'm going to have some doors closed on me and I'm not going to get to participate in certain places, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, I'm still going to be happy, and I know the steps I took, and I'm proud of what I took, and I'm just doing what I want to do. So I'm really happy with where I'm at in relation to my passions, and nobody's going to take that away from me.
That's beautiful. As a final crescendo to all this, I'm curious to hear what's next steps for you. Where's this? Where do you see the next short? You don't have to project deep in the future, but what does it look like?
The scariest thing about me is I don't have a plan, and that's where some people tell me I need training or help on. Is like, you need to create a long-term plan or a short-term plan, or I don't even have a plan. All I know is I got gigs coming up till about February. I got some offers for next summer.
Could we catch you locally anywhere coming up soon?
Where am I?
You just did Kanutski.
I just did Kanutski with Derek Starlight. That was awesome. I noticed a big shift in the crowd this year. There were a lot of folks coming out from the community of Thunder Bay, of all nations, creeds, colors, and genders. So I looked in the audience and went, wow, this is a different kind of crowd, because normally it was like, this is going to be a First Nations crowd, pretty solid, and it might have a little bit of salt mixed in with the pepper. But this year there was a lot of salt out there and flecks of pepper, so I was kind of like, wow, look at the crowd. And I had prepared to do all this material getting ready for a hard pepper audience. So I was like, I should have brought my stuff. I should have, but I tried some new things, and I had a good time, and I think everybody that was there had a good time, and as far as the big picture, I'm not quite sure. I got some stuff coming up with Tom Jackson that I'm looking forward to here at the auditorium. I'm working with Williams and Ree at the St. Croix Casino in December. One of the big things that I'm working on right now, it's big for me. I don't know if this is purpose stuff, it's passion stuff, maybe it's a combination. I've got a little thing set up for December 27th and 28th at the Smith Clinic. It's called Soberfest. Okay. And I'm just going to basically have 2 nights of assortment of genres of bands. I've already got CCR confirmed from town here with Andy Wolf's band. I've got Frankie T and the Nighthawks signed up. A couple of the bands that I wanted to get can't make it because somebody's gone away on holidays, but I'm gonna just get hip hop, heavy metal, country, and just set up 2 nights, drug and alcohol free event for people that want to live. They want to go and listen to music. They want to dance, or they want to listen to music, and they don't want to sit there and put up with drinking and drugging and the behaviors that come with it. And awesome. These are sort of the side projects. These are the things I like to get in that I really enjoy doing. And because that's about sharing with other people. That's about giving an opportunity. And how this kind of started was like, I had a Christmas party one year and we threw some bands together and it had a pretty good turnout. It's kind of like, you need to do that again. And so I was kind of like, well, I'm going to have Soberfest this year.
I like it.
Will it get bigger? I don't know. Who knows? I like to keep things small and contained. I don't want my dreams to get too big and shooting for anything too large.
Yeah.
You know, like Wake the Giant this year. I was like, wow, that was huge. Like I've thought of stuff like that, but I was like, that's just not possible. I'm not doing that. I'm not taking that kind of, you know, I can't take on
You're
something
only one man, huh?
Yeah, I don't want to work with a committee. I don't want to get overwhelmed with something big project. But I can put something on at a Smith Clinic gym. You know, I know a sound man. I'll hire him. I'll hire a few bands. We'll put on a nice little show. We'll have fun, and the community can get together and we'll have a good time. You know, people of like minds who belong and feel accepted. We'll all get together and we'll have a great night together. And that's what I mean. That's how I see Thunder Bay. If you want to do something positive, be part of it. Just put on something and take a chance and do it.
Or show up.
And
take a risk.
Take a risk and show up and come out.
If you've gone to the same bar, 20 times in a row and you try going somewhere sober and seeing what that show's like.
Do it different.
Whatever. Maybe you don't like it, you can always leave. There's the door. No one's forcing you to be anywhere, right?
Price is going to be reasonable. And it's because it's not about making money. We're just there to... I gotta make enough money to pay the bands off. I got some money stashed aside if I lose. It's a gamble. If it doesn't come through and I gotta fork out I gotta put away. I'm ready for this, and that's how I'm gonna give. That's how I'm gonna give back or share or whatever you want to call it. It's just by putting that on. So this is a little project. I got it on a piece of paper and we're just writing in numbers and names and phone calls and. I'm excited, and I already got my sound man lined up, and he told me his price, and I feel that's good. And he's going to bring some lights and a smoke machine and make it real.
Nice.
So I'm pretty pumped about it.
Where can people find this information? What are your handles?
Well, I'm just at Ron Kanutski on Facebook. That's where I promote just about everything. I might have a little bit on my websites. It's ronkanutski.com. I also have withcareconsulting.com, but the biggest thing is just punching in my name. And my information will be, it's an open book. It's all up there. In between my adventures of running around, doing whatever I'm doing, week to week, I'll just keep updates going on that. I'll start an event page eventually. Once I get all the bands confirmed, I'm going to make a cool poster and then I'm going to just start promote. And hopefully I'll get all the tickets sold and feeling safe by Christmas Day. So hopefully people will give them away as Christmas gifts.
That's a good idea.
And it gives people a place to go, right? Instead of waiting till that last minute, I'll buy them at the door. No, buy them ahead of time. Make a commitment and, come out.
What a perfect time to do a sober event, too, because I find people get Christmas time.
It's a tough week.
But Christmas time wreaks havoc on a lot of people's lives with the drinking and the pressure and the stress. And
so it is a Friday and a Saturday, and I put it on a weekend for a reason.
Yeah.
And normally what I would do at this time, a few years ago I did a dance. I know I did a New Year's dance for the people at AANA and just people who want to live a sober lifestyle. I put that on, and then of course I've been in the sort of the powwow scene, doing some of the powwow stuff. Over the years during New Year's, and then I thought I'm just gonna do something different because my passion right now again isn't just powwow, it's just music in general. So I just wanna give a place for people to enjoy music. It's like, oh, you're Anishinaabe, you have to go to the powwow, that's their only option. I'm like, no, let's give some other options. Maybe some people want to listen to hip hop, maybe some people want to listen to heavy metal or some country. So I'm just calling on all my friends, can you bring your band out for a set? I'll try to treat you respectfully, pay you properly, and as best as I can. But this is how much money I have, so I've had a few musicians already, right? I'll play solo for 15 minutes, half hour, I'll come out, share some songs. I'm like, please, thank you. That'd be awesome.
Very cool.
So yeah, I got a lot of cool people that have kind of called and said they would join in and help out.
Nice.
So that's actually my big thing right now is this Soberfest. I got this thing in my head. But as far as the future, I don't know. Sometimes I think about becoming an Ojibwe language teacher. Sometimes I think about I need to try harder in comedy. I had an offer last year. I was over in Vegas and I sat together with I met some people. I had an opportunity to create a band. And I went down there to have a meeting and talk about what that would look like. And unfortunately, one of the members was heavily invested in narcotics. And I just said, this ain't going to work, guys. And I called it what it was. I said, this is destined for failure before it even takes off the ground. I can't pack my family up and move to Las Vegas for this. And of course, I offended some people, and they got one. They said, you're a nobody. And I said, well, if I'm going to come down here and take a risk and lose everything I have, I'll be more than a nobody. I'm going to be a fool. I said, I might be a nobody. And I said, but you guys were used to be. And I think you need to think about that. You know, you're not on the top of your game anymore either. So don't rub something in my face and call me down. And then I got one guy in the middle going, oh no, this is all falling apart. Don't you reckon it? And then at the end, of course, the discussion was as well, thanks for calling it the way you saw it, because you're probably right. I want to do this so bad too that I'm willing to forego looking at the big picture here. And you're right, it probably wouldn't get too far. And I said,
perfect balance of head and heart in that one, huh?
If we're gonna invest, and we're gonna do this, I'm always sitting looking back going, is this even feasible? Like, I got to take into account, can we even pull this off? And I didn't see it. And as much as I wanted it, because I have a rock star dream inside, but I'm looking at this going, this is going nowhere. This is going to be someone ain't going to show up. We're going to have a gig, or they're going to be messed up. It's going to tank. We're going to get a bad name, and that's going to be it. It's over. It's going to be over before it even starts. I played the tape ahead and watched the film before I even had to. I didn't even have to watch the film. I already previewed. This is where it's going. So I'm just going to play music with the guys when we get a chance. If we get an offer, I'm gonna get up and do that. And I'm just going to keep pursuing my passions. I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to go motorcycle riding. I'm going to take some trips. I'm off to Vegas next week just to listen to bands.
Nice. And
that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to sit in the pool, maybe try and write some jokes. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'll probably sit there dead brained and do nothing, just sit in the sun and bake like a clam, And then at night I'm going to go out and listen to music. That's my passion. So I'm going to go see The Cult. I'm going to go see Daughtry with my wife. And we're going to go see a hardcore band called Great American Ghost. I'm pumped up about that. Nice. They're from Boston, and they just blow my mind. They're heavy. I love them. Saturday we're trying to debate who we're going to see. We might not. We might just go walk around.
Yeah.
Billy Idol's kind of in the cards. I don't know.
Nice.
But I've already seen him several times. It's like, sometimes you got to draw a line and say, okay, you don't really need to go again, but I want to. That's the passion part. I'm doing this again.
Well, I think I want to wrap it up with, because I want to touch on this last point. Is I see the way you conduct yourself, and it's the lesson I want to take with me of this is not trying to control that future. And this has been, I knew I was going to love having you on this podcast, because even I usually formulate a structure to the podcast. I've had notes beside me that I literally haven't had to look at.
I was going to say, let's look at the paper.
I never looked at the notes once in this, and that's the way I've watched you walk in and do the groups. And I think that's what a lesson I think I want people to take away from this is what you were saying when you're stressing yourself with watching all those things online at night, and you're looking, and then finally you set an intention, but then you let go. And you didn't try to control the outcome, and then the universe starts putting anything into place.
It just fell into place.
That's what I want. I want people to take away from that at the very end of this is I don't know. Don't try to control it so much. Just when you let go and let things happen, let life happen on its terms. I think that's where the real magic happens.
And I'm glad you picked up on that, because that's remove the complications. Like I've been through stuff growing up. I've witnessed things, and I've participated in things that could probably boggle some people's minds, and to other people that's just everyday living. But it's kind of like, it isn't that complicated. We make it complicated.
Yes.
And some people would disagree with me and say, yeah, but if you've been through this and you've been through that and you've gone through this, and well, yeah, I have. I've gone through some of those things. Not all those things, but I've gone through some of those things. And was it resilience that pulled me through, or was it the ability to say, okay, I'm going to close that chapter now, and I'm going to keep moving, and I'm going to keep writing this book as I go. The story's open right now. and I don't know where I'm going. But all the things that's happened so far, it's kind of been, I've just let it go. I've been flowing. I've done a little bit of work. I've done some footwork to kind of guide it a little bit.
Know a little bit where you're going.
And maybe if I put in more effort, I could have forced it a bit more this way or that way. But one door closes, another one opens, and I think that door was a better door to go through. When I look at the big picture, that door would have been tough. When I got through, I would have took abuse, and it would have just been and I would have went out the back door, and I would have felt terrible that I even took that route. So I'm kind of like, I just went this way. It was natural. It flowed. And it felt good, and it was great. And that's kind of how I live, and that's with everything I do, purpose or work related or whatever you want to call it, or passion. Things just get put up on the table, and people call and offer things. Like I'll have something and something won't fall through, or I'll get a no, and I'll be like, and I get down. I used to get down. Oh, this is the way it's going to be. And the next day someone would call and I'd be like, oh, this was 10 times better. Oh, why? Thank God I didn't take that, or thank God that crashed, because this has come up. So I think sometimes, it's good some things tank.
Trust in it.
It's good things crash because something else is coming.
Great. Let's leave it there, and
right.
I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your story with me, and I look forward to see where your story goes, and perhaps in the future we'll do this again, and we'll hear where that story is at then.
Mm-hmm. 10 years from now, what happened? Absolutely nothing. I'm just saying.
The Joker.
That was great.
Awesome, Ron. Thank you very much.
All right, good night.